Michelle Rhee, the former chancellor of the District of Columbia Schools, appeared at the 2011 National Policy Summit of the American Federation for Children in Washington.
I am a Democrat, card-carrying, lifelong, grew up in Toledo, Ohio, always sort of watched the happenings in the city that I grew up in with the glass workers and the unions, and I always thought, okay, I'm on the side of the workers, we need to make sure that they have their rights, et cetera. So I kind of grew up a corn-fed girl in Toledo, Ohio with all of those beliefs. When I came here to D.C., though I was very much in favor of education reform in general, very much in favor of high-performing charter schools, vouchers was sort of where I drew the line, right, in the sand, because I thought, as a good Democrat, vouchers sort of is kind of separate and aside from where we want to be, because it's taking money away from a system that actually needs a lot of investment, that sort of thing.
Rhee became chancellor of D.C. schools at a time when the deadline to renew the Opportunity Scholarship Program was fast approaching, and everyone wanted to know how she felt about the program that allowed low-income families to send their children to non-public schools within the district bounds, schools like Bridges Academy, using public money. As she already said, Rhee didn't like vouchers.
But I wanted to sort of hear from the people who had really been impacted by the program every day, and so I started to talk to folks in the community. And what sort of changed my opinion was that I would talk to parent after parent after parent in the district who had done exactly what we would want parents to do. So they had researched their neighborhood school and figured out that it was a failing school. So sometimes, 10% of the children at that school were proficient. And so the parents would say, okay, my child has a 90% chance of failure. There is no way that I'm going to send them here. And then they would do the next best thing, which was they would apply through the out-of-boundary lottery process to try to get one of the very coveted spots at one of a dozen schools on the other side of town that were actually very high performing. And inevitably they would lose that lottery because there were not nearly enough spaces for the number of families and children that wanted them. And then these mothers would often come to me and say, now what do I do?
For Rhee, she said there was only one thing she could do.
And when looking these women in the eye, if I did not have a spot at a traditional DC public school that I would feel comfortable sending my own two daughters to, because I did send my children to the system, then I thought, who am I to stop this parent from taking a $7,500 voucher, which was, by the way, $1,500 less than what we spent per child in the district, so that they could potentially go to a Catholic school and get a great education. Right? I just absolutely was not willing to make that decision, and I was not willing to say to these parents and to these mothers, you know what, just give me 5 years, right? Just take one for the team. Your kid may not learn how to read and write and do math for those 5 years, but this is what is good for the system.
Michelle Rhee herself is a mother of 2 girls. When she was a chancellor, her daughters attended D.C. public schools.
I would never accept that for my child, so I was never going to put any other mother in that situation. So when I came out in favor of the Opportunity Scholarships program, people went nuts, right? Democrats went nuts. People were saying to me, what are you doing? You're going against the party? And oh, by the way, we don't understand your rationale because you are the one who has the most to lose from this program continuing, because it's going to take dollars away from you, it's going to take enrollment away from your district, so you're not thinking straight. And I said, no, here's the thing, you're not thinking straight, because I do not believe that my job is to protect and defend and preserve a district that is doing a disservice to children.
And as chancellor of D.C. schools, that's something she said she couldn't do.
I believe that my job is to make sure that every single child in this city gets a great education. I am agnostic as to the delivery mechanism.
She said many traditional public schools are failing to deliver a quality education that children need.
And So it's interesting because since I had that experience and that epiphany, what I keep thinking and what I keep trying to tell people across the country is we have to stop doing what we're doing now in public education, which is as we're trying to figure out these different policies, we're sort of saying, well, the district needs more investment, and in order for the institution and the system, we know what that kind of thinking produces. It produces the absolutely subpar educational system in America that we have today.
Schools like Bridges Academy in Washington, D.C. were created because the founder of the school wanted something different for her own child. Rhee says if public schools are to remain relevant, they have to want something different for the children they serve.
What I think we need is to completely change that perspective and pivot the way that we think about everything away from the system and the district to children. Because there is not a family anywhere, I believe, that would be willing to sacrifice what is happening with their children's education every day in the name of some large system.
By standing up for vouchers, Rhee says she's taken a lot of flack from people she loves and respects.
A lot of my friends say, you're on the wrong track on this sort of thing. And a few weeks ago, I had an experience where I kind of went through everything that I just went through with one of my friends, and she still wasn't with me. And I said, okay. I said, did you watch Waiting for Superman? And she said, yes. Did everybody in the room seen Waiting for Superman? So I said, did you watch Waiting for Superman? She said, yes. I said, okay, little Bianca, the little girl who couldn't go to her kindergarten graduation because her mother couldn't pay the tuition bill, what did you think? And my friend was like, oh, God, it broke my heart. I mean, I wanted to whip out my checkbook and write the $500 check myself. I said, right, honey, that would be a voucher. Just a different.
Since leaving the D.C. school district, Rhee has created a nonprofit group called Students First. As she travels the country, she wants education leaders to remember one thing.
And as long as we're thinking about children first and foremost and the decisions that we would make for our own kids, I actually think we would have a much better run system in the long run.
The D.C. Opportunity Scholarship Program has recently been reauthorized by Congress. And as for Rhee, she says issues of education reform like school choice, teacher and school accountability should be something people can agree on to make the lives of children better. In Washington, D.C., Teresa Rashid, EAG TV.